welcome you to Revive Your Business webinar. This webinar has been designed for those of you who are business owners, and I know many of you have lots of experience, but because of all the uncertainty, you may not know exactly how to respond to this. But here's one thing we know for sure, right off the bat: you are important to us, you are important to our community, because really you are the backbone of our economy. And how well you do affect our community and our region, even our state. And so the purpose of today's webinar is to help you overcome the biggest unknown we're facing, right? And that's the depth and the breadth of this pandemic. I know we're all excited about the governor lifting the stay-at-home order, but there's a tension, isn't there? On one side, there's the infection and safety and risk and death. So we're concerned about loved ones, our employees, and our community. And then the other side is our livelihood and our economy, and we're asking our leaders to draw a line in between and navigate and get it right the first time, which is going to be tough because nobody's done this before, all right? So our best guess is it's going to be fits and starts because we're going to learn together. So we're facing lots of, again, uncertainty, which has brought on some fear and stress and anxiety. And our friends in brain science have told us that when we are under stress, our brain produces something called cortisol, which impairs our brain function, and that's not helpful. And then when we're anxious, we tend to focus on the negative, and that's not helpful. Would you agree that right now, your business needs your A game? Right now, your business needs your best leadership, right? So how to combat all these uncertainty and fear and stress and anxiety? Well, I suggest to you, we combat them with action, right? But what kind of action? There are so many things you could be doing. There's so much to do. It could be a bit overwhelming. But here's one thing you know, because many of you have experience, and that is just reacting. Just doing something won't cut it. It just isn't good enough because it won't deliver the results that you need. So how to make sure what you do will make the difference. And that's what we're going to talk about today, right? There you go. Okay, so here's what we're going to cover today. I'm going to talk about how to build a powerful action plan for 2020. And then as a subset of that, one of our business coaches, as Warren Mueller, he's going to talk about optimizing internal costs to maximize cash flow. And then Jamie's going to talk about maximizing revenue through digital marketing. Okay, so the first, how to build a powerful action plan, right? So what separates a powerful action plan from a normal plan? And I suggest to you, it really depends on how you begin. And I suggest the most important thing we can do to develop a powerful action plan is to define your win. What is the win that is a must-do? If you achieve it, you would have confidence, and you would be poised, and you would have momentum going to 2021. What would be that win that is a must-do? Another way to say it is, what is a goal that is a must-do goal that if you achieved it, you feel so good and you would be poised and prepared to go in, as you go into 2021. So I would say at this point, some of you may be thinking about sales. But here's one thing you know because of experience. Some sales are good, some sales are not so good, because some sales are profitable, and some sales are not profitable, and some sales may even lose you money. So I suggest sales is just not good enough as your primary goal. So what would be better? I suggest net income, right? Defining a win as net income. Why net income? Because net income is the measure of excellence for all businesses. And secondly, because business operates in cash, and especially now, cash is so important because it allows you to buy time. Cash allows you to stay in the game. And however long this pandemic takes, cash allows you to build resourcefulness, allows you to build excellence, allows you to pivot, allows you to prepare your business so that when the recovery comes, you're poised to accelerate, okay? So What should you set as your net income goal? Well, that's up to you. If you're thinking $200,000 before COVID, under the circumstances, you may be thinking 50,000 will be a win for us right now. But some of you may be in a segment that's been hit pretty hard. For you, you may be thinking, if we can achieve break even, that would be a win for you. So whatever it is, you get to pick. So first step is define your net income goal, okay? Before we get into step 2, I want to go over a simple financial equation. It looks like this, and many of you are familiar with this. Sales minus cost of goods sold, those would be direct material, direct labor, commissions, freight, contractors, and such, equals gross profit. Minus overhead, like rent, utility, insurance, and such, equals net income. Okay, so first step is set your net income goal. That's a must-do. Step 2, based on that, define your gross profit. Okay, step 3. Okay, we still need sales, but what kind of sales? I suggest define sales by your best customer segments. Okay, who are your best customer segments? A few things. Number 1, they have to have money to spend. Number 2, they have need that you can meet. Number 3, if you delivered on their need well, they're happy to pay for it, and they're happy to give you a win. Number 4, if you did that really, really well, they are happy to come back over and over again, bring their family, their friends, and they may even brag about you to others. And if you've been in business for a while, you know who they are already. For some of you, it may be families with young children. Others of you may be empty nesters, single women, women 18 to 26, seniors, young professionals. So for some of you, you may have one best customer segment. Others of you may have 2. I suggest no more than 3 customer segments, because it's really difficult to execute well across that many segments. Step 4, convert the sales to number of customers. Okay, let me show it to you this way. Okay, so our win, right, we're saying in this example, is net income of 50,000 by the end of the year. And based on that, we're going to define our gross profit, and it's 175. And step 3, based on that, we're going to define our sales, and we have 3 segments. Okay, so here's what we just did. We said our win and the must-do is 50,000 in net income, and the pathway to that 50,000 is $150 in sales in segment 1, 125 in segment 2, and 75,000 in segment 3. If we can achieve that, we can get our win. Okay, so this is good, but I don't know how to act on $150,000. I don't know what to do to get to $150,000. So it'll be helpful if I can turn that number into something I can act on. So let's say the best customer segment 1 are families with young children. And let's say on the average, they spend $300. So if I take the 150,000 and divide by 300, now it tells me how many customers I need, all right, to reach 150,000. I do the same thing for segment 2 and segment 3. So here's what I just did. Our win that we're trying to achieve, that's a must-do, is 50,000. And the pathway to that is if I can deliver the win to 500 customers in segment 1, 500 in segment 2, and 600 in segment 3, and if I can deliver the win to them, we get to win. So we just mapped out a pathway to reach our goal. Okay, that's good. This is for the whole year though. So this is good, but here's the thing. I don't know, I won't know until the end of the year how we're doing, whether we're gonna win or not, right? So it doesn't tell me what to do like this month of May, right? And this is a dilemma for many businesses that have goals. I suggest many businesses don't hit their goals. And number 1 reason they don't hit their goals is because their actions are not aligned to their goals. So how do we make sure that we hit our goals? Well, a simple step. I suggest break down the 2020 goal into bite sizes that you can act on, right? Okay, so in the first step, I suggest breaking down the 2020 goal by calendar month. So it may look something like this. So our goal that we're trying to achieve is 50,000 for the year. And the pathway to get there is, let's say, 500 customers in segment 1. To achieve the 500, based on seasonality, we need to be able to reach 25 in May, 70 in June, and 100 in July, and so on. If I can do that by month, then I can win, I can gain the 500 for the year, and we can achieve our 50,000. So I just converted our year end into month-to-month action. So I mapped out a monthly action plan. So this is good, right? Much better than the year end. But here's the thing. I won't know whether I'm winning or not until the end of the month. And that's a long time to wait, right? I still don't know how I'm doing like this week. So this is better than the year, but I suggest what's better is if you break it down into weekly goals. That's much better because now I know how we're doing by week, and then I know what to do each week. Okay, much better than the month. But here's one thing that we see in businesses that have weekly goals. On Monday, and maybe even on Tuesday, they're still working on the goal from the previous week. On Wednesday, they have some other things that capture their attention. And Thursday, they may be working on now finally the goal for the week. And then Friday, the burden of all the things they have to do is on their shoulder, and they don't quite get it done, and then they beat themselves, right? And this may not be you, but we see this very often, right? So weekly goal is better than a monthly goal, but you know what's even better? If we can break it down into a daily goal. This is beautiful because now I know what to do every day. And then if I do that, if I hit my goal every day, then I'll hit my weekly goals. If I hit that every week, I'll hit my monthly goal. And then if I hit my monthly goal every month, then we will win because we would have achieved our 2020 goal, right? So the key to success in this, right? Key to success is breaking the 2020 goal into daily action goals. Then now I have a daily scorecard, and then now you can unleash your leadership, unleash your creativity to knock your daily goal out of the park, and then you can win by the day, and then you can win by the week, and then you can win by the month, and you can win for the year. So this is how you build a powerful action plan, because now every day you know what to do. You don't have to figure out every day what to do, it's already set for you based on this plan. Okay, maybe some of you are now ready to begin to work on this, and we want to help you. If you're interested in getting a copy of the slide deck, all you have to do is email us. We also have some Excel sheets that'll help you establish your monthly goal, from which you can break it into weekly and daily as well. Okay, all right. So I think at this time it may be good to just take a couple of deep breaths because there's more coming. And Warren will be covering how to optimize internal costs to maximize cash flow. Warren?
All right, thank you, Bill. And again, good morning to everyone who's with us. One of the things that Bill just mentioned is that it's all about cash and conserving cash so that we can stay in the game. And managing our overhead expenses is one of the key ways to conserve cash so that we can stay in the game. And so let's talk about what overhead is. Here we have a very typical profit and loss statement for a company, fictitious, from April of 2019, where we've labeled all the components of the profit and loss statement. And the expenses within this red outline are the overhead expenses that we want to work on managing. Now, in your profit and loss statement, this area might be called operating expenses. It might also be called fixed costs, but it really doesn't matter. The expenses that we're talking about here are the ones that fall below the gross profit line and above the net operating income line. These are the overhead expenses. And we want to look at these expenses in the context of some tactical actions that we can take in order to conserve cash. For example, we want to look for expenses that we can eliminate because they're non-essential to us. You also want to look at where we can reduce expenses, possibly defer payments into a later time frame when things are running better for us, or even shift some of our overhead expenses, payments, into higher value activities. Now, one question that will come up in this process is how much elimination or how much reduction or how much deferral is enough? How much of these things do I have to do in order to conserve enough cash to stay in the game? And so what we'd like to do is to offer a tool or a metric to help answer that question. And the name of this tool is the dollar break-even point of your business. You may recall from finance classes that the dollar break-even point of a business is that point where the revenues minus all the expenses equals zero net income. That's the definition of the dollar break-even point. And if you have a well-formed profit and loss statement like this one, it turns out that the dollar break-even point is quite simple to calculate. We simply take the total of our overhead costs and divide them by the gross margin of the business. As you may recall, the gross margin of your business is equal to your gross profits divided by your revenue. And so using this profit and loss statement, we can show this calculation as an example. So if we take the gross profit of this business in April of 2019 and divide it by their revenue, we see that this business was earning a gross margin of 42%, which is typically a very healthy gross margin for most businesses. Now, we can take this number, bring it down to this formula, take our overhead costs for the month, and we can calculate our dollar break-even point. And what we see is the dollar break-even point of this business in April of 2019 was just about $33,000. Okay, what does that mean? Well, if we look at that number and compare it to our revenue, we see that the revenue far exceeds this dollar break-even point. And this is how we define this metric. In order to determine if our business is operating in sustainable territory, we want to make sure every month that our revenues exceed our dollar break-even point. And so for this business, which was operating very well in April of 2019, we see that indeed their revenues far exceeded their dollar break-even point. They were definitely very sustainable. Now, let's fast forward to April of 2020. And when we do that, we see that things have changed quite a bit because of the COVID-19 impact. Now, in April of 2020, the first thing we observe is their sales have dropped to almost a quarter of what they were last year. Their cost of goods sold is still rather high because they've kept all of their workers on their payroll, and so they've earned very little gross profit for last month, April. Now, when we take these two numbers and we calculate their gross margin, we see that for April of 2020, their gross margin plunged all the way to 4.4% when it was running 42% last year. That's a very serious situation. But the worst news by far is they haven't made any changes to their overhead. And so in April of 2020, their overhead expenses are running virtually the same as they were in April of 2019. Now, when we take this number along with the gross margin and calculate their current dollar break-even point, we see that their dollar break-even point has ballooned to $322,000, far higher than their revenue. And so what this indicates is this business is dangerously unsustainable. And so what the owners of this business need to do is to immediately attack these overhead expenses and find a way to manage these so that they can get back into sustainable territory. Now, one way to attack this large group of expenses is to break it down into bite-sized pieces by segmenting these expenses into different categories. And so here we have an infrastructure segment, an administrative segment, and an operational segment. And what we want to do is look at the expenses in each one of these segments in the context of the tactical actions that we talked about earlier. We want to find expenses to eliminate, reduce, defer, or shift. And so if we come over to the infrastructure segment, we can see from the profit and loss statement in the previous slide, if we can defer our lease payments or mortgage if we own, we have an opportunity to lop $4,000 off our overhead expenses. Likewise, if we can defer utility and insurance expenses, there's another opportunity for a $1,000 reduction. When we move over to the administrative segment, there might be legal expenses we can eliminate or accounting expenses that we can defer, and so there's another opportunity to reduce overhead expenses by $1,000. And then when we come to office staff or executive staff, if we temporarily furlough those employees in order to match our manpower to our current business operating rate, there might be another $5,000 that we can take out of our overhead burden. Finally, coming over to the operational segment, we can switch gears and maybe not look at eliminating or reducing expenses here, but shifting expenses from print ads, radio, television ads to social media to change the way we send out our messages to support our revenue generation. For example, if you're a restaurant and your dining room has been closed or you're operating at a very reduced dining room rate, but you offer curbside fulfillment or you offer Uber or Dash delivery fulfillment, you might want to shift revenues into your social media channels to let your customers know that you're doing that to support those revenue generation efforts. And so overall, as we're looking at managing all of these expenses, we want to do it in the context of these goals. We want to make sure we get to the point where our revenues exceed our dollar break-even point every month. Short term, we want to be very aggressive about going after these expenses in order to conserve cash and to survive. And then long term, we may want to look at rebalancing or shifting these expenses into different categories in order to thrive. And so in summary, it's all about conserving cash in order to stay in the game. And in long term, restructuring or rebalancing our expenses in order to thrive. And the dollar break-even tool provides a useful metric so that we can monitor our progress along the way. Thank you. So I'll turn it over to Jamie now.
Thank you, Warren. All right, so welcome everyone. I'm glad to see all of you joining us today. For some small businesses, establishing an online presence wasn't exactly a top priority, but recent shifts have forced business owners to make quick changes to their operations and their strategies, which is why I'm sure you're joining us today. Bill and Warren started you off with how to hold on to more of your cash, and now I'm going to talk about how you can continue to earn it. So, who is this presentation for? Well, most of you out there are going to fall into one of three categories. You're either number one, you're missing in action. You have no digital presence at all. No website, no social media, nowhere are you found online. Or maybe you're in no man's land. You have a website because you heard you needed one, but you're not utilizing it to its full potential. Or you're in the category number three, you're scouting for new ideas. You have a website, you're using social media, you're running a few digital ads, but because of the current situation, your existing campaigns no longer deliver results. So we're going to have to get real for a moment. The normal reaction to a crisis is to cut company spending, and usually that means on marketing. And for some things you're doing, as far as, like Warren mentioned, print ads, TV ads, radio, maybe you do need to cut on those, but cutting everything is probably not a smart thing to do. Because while your competitors are cutting back, there is room for your brand to take over and win the minds of your best customer segments, like Bill had talked about earlier. We are currently experiencing a paradigm shift. Even though things are starting to open back up, we are far from business as usual. People are home and people are online. This means you need to bring your business online and into their homes. Because products are being bought and sold online now more than ever, from clothing to food and other essentials. And the question is, are you there if someone is looking for what you have to offer? Because this is a rare opportunity for smart businesses to shift the marketplace in their favor to target those best customers. So, and these are the main reasons for getting your business online. Advertising is cheap right now. When other businesses pull back, advertisers lower the costs. This leads to lower ad costs on Facebook, Google, and other ad platforms, with some reporting that advertising costs are down by as much as 51%. And you can let the real data guide you. You can quickly and easily modify campaigns and shift budgets toward the right channels, depending on real-time data and results. And let's follow the money. To get more sales, customers need to know what you're offering. And to reach those potential customers, where they're spending most of their time right now, is online. So to do this, you need to have a smarter approach. So I'm going to talk about tools and strategies you can use right now that meet three criteria. They have fast setup and results. These are strategies you can execute and apply immediately, and they should take no more than 3 days. They're affordable solutions. Some of what I will share will cost you zero out of pocket to run. All it takes is time and patience. And 3, they're scalable for this new normal. Go beyond and prepare for the world that comes after COVID and the rise of the contact-free economy, AKA what everyone is referring to as the new normal. So these are some of the tools that will meet that criteria that you should be using right now. And it should be a no-brainer, but the first one is a website. But this website needs to be mobile friendly. If you are selling things online, it needs to be e-commerce ready. And this is surprising, but there are a lot of businesses out there that have not even updated it with their new hours, how they're operating right now. You need to make sure you do that. And with a number of templated website builders out there like Shopify, you can have an e-commerce website set up in days for as little as $15 a month. And online payment processors like PayPal and Stripe can get you approved to take online payments almost instantly with low credit card processing fees. And a website is much more than a place to sell online. For example, appointment-based businesses like salons can offer online booking. Businesses that can't provide core services can still transform part of their service into products that can be safely delivered to people's homes. For example, restaurants can offer home-prepared meal kits. Fitness studios can rent equipment for home use. Beauty salons can still sell their hair and beauty products online. And day spas can offer home care kits in place of those regular services. This is definitely a time to get creative. Think about the products and services you provide. What can you do on your website to allow customers to buy, book, or engage with your business? And second, and a lot of people forget about this, is Google My Business. So I've got the web address down there, so it's easy to find, but it's business.google.com. And you make sure that you have this free listing set up, and it has all the current information about your hours and how you're doing business at the moment. If you're a restaurant, don't forget to promote delivery or that curbside pickup. And Google has made it super easy to set it up and update. Although I will let you know there are a few delays because, as of the rest of us, they are also at home. So give them a few days. But they've added a whole lot more tools that you can use to integrate it into your listing as well. And a lot of those you can use for free or at low cost. And don't forget the value of Google Ads. You can use those ads to promote your new offers, stay top of mind, and take advantage of those low advertising costs right now. Think about what people staying at home want in this current situation. Think sweatpants, slippers, comfort food, and definitely any way to cut through this boredom. And we don't want to forget about email. It's the lowest hanging fruit to reach existing leads and customers. And maybe you've already been sending out periodic emails to your list. It's a free way to leverage what you already have. And you can utilize this list in two different ways. You can find the most valuable customers and offer special rewards and discounts, or you reach those existing leads that haven't bought from you yet with special offers. And at the moment, MailChimp is offering a free starter plan as well as price relief on premium plans for small businesses. You can design beautiful emails using templates and drag and drop visual email builders. And we definitely can't forget about social media. I've been hounding on this for years, and I know that there's a lot of people. I personally don't like to be on Facebook, but right now you kind of need to. So social distancing and stay-at-home orders have more people spending time on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, name it. Creating posts that are engaging and work to grab attention, raise awareness, and generate interest in offerings directly result in more sales. Use your profiles to sell gift cards or certificates that people pay for now to redeem later. And Facebook even now has a space where it's called Support Local Businesses, and it's a feature to promote gift cards. You might as well use it. And best of all, there's no charge to set up these profiles, and it takes very little time. And honestly, you don't need to be everywhere, but you should be where your best customers are currently spending their time. And let's not forget about video conferencing, the fun thing that we've been doing for hours every day. For service-based businesses that depend on close contact with clients, they now have other options to service those clients' needs and keep their business running. Online video sessions and consultations and home learning are just some of the ways to leverage online video to safely provide services online. There are free and low-cost options out there that fit any business and are easy to implement without any special equipment other than what you probably already own. Physiotherapists can leverage online video to provide virtual sessions and consultations over the internet. Yoga and fitness studios can provide one-on-one demand sessions via Zoom or other video platforms. Legal professionals can provide online consultations. Restaurants, bars can put on wine beer classes or show how a dish can be prepared. And I watched this actually happen the other night. There was a charity in town that was unable to do their annual fundraiser. So there was a wine bar in town that actually did just a small little auction. They did it on Facebook Live. They thought, oh, we can raise a few $1,000s, it'll be great. They had just 5 different wine packages. By the end of the evening, they had raised $23,000 for that charity. So it's possible to use these platforms to actually generate income for your business and for a nonprofit or whatever it is that you're wanting to do. And this is the time to start automating some things. Digital marketing and online sales let you automate the bulk of your operations to cut those costs and preserve that precious cash. Chatbots can automatically answer customer questions, take orders, and cut down sales and customer service costs. You can use those on your website, on social media. You can set up auto responses to common questions directly from your Facebook page with a chatbot. ManyChat is one, and it's featured here on this slide, that a lot of businesses use and can also be adapted to work from your website. Don't forget about those online booking services to allow people to schedule appointments and consultations without the need of extra staff. Or you can use a service like Zoho One that offers a host of services for one low monthly fee. I've personally been using it myself for a few months, and it's helping to automate a lot of the things that I've been doing manually myself. Setup was easy, and it includes online booking tools, email marketing, social media management, chatbots for your website, and a whole lot more. And now that we have all of these things that we're doing, we definitely need to make sure we're following the data, because we need to be able to shift to make sure we are targeting those best customers. So make sure you have Google Analytics or some other analytics tools set up for your website. You want to check Google Trends, which is easy, just Google Trends to see what shoppers are buying right now. Pay attention to your social media insights, see what's working, what is selling, and what you need to do more of or possibly less of. This is a rare opportunity for smart businesses to shift that marketplace and target those best customer segments. So let's recap what we've just talked about. So some of the tools that you're going to need. Website. If you don't have one, this is the time. Please set one up. Make sure that your Google My Business listing has all of the accurate information on it as far as hours. They're making it super easy. It's a big button that says, are you shut down because of COVID? Use the email. If you haven't already started to collect those, this is the time to start collecting those email addresses. It's still valid. It's not a dead medium. Social media, utilize it now, especially if you already have a presence set up. If you don't, pick one or two where your best customers are. Remember that, because it doesn't mean everybody's on Facebook. There are a lot, but not everybody. Utilize video conferencing when you can, especially if you can't do one-on-one appointments or if you're doing big events, anything like that. Start to automate as much as you can, because these are things that even after all of this finally passes and we do start to emerge, you have these tools in place that are just going to continue to save you money. And honestly, there are so many other tools out there. I just can't mention them all today, or we would be here way longer than we need to be. So if you need that information, I put my contact info, my emails in the chat. So go ahead and email me. But you have to think about it, because advertising is cheap right now because businesses have pulled back. And so the advertisers have lowered their costs, and they know they need to, or they're not going to be making revenue. You want to let that data guide you. Make sure you're following those analytics to see what's working and what isn't working. And we need to follow that money. To get more sales, consumers need to know what you are offering. You need to reach potential customers where they spend most of their time right now, which is online. So I want you to think about this. What is the one thing you can do today to pivot your business and your online presence? Just one thing. There's got to be something that you're doing in your business that you can pivot right now to use that online to create more sales, book more clients, whatever that is. So that's all I have to offer. So we are ready for questions.
Great. Hey everybody, this is Will again. I'm going to keep my video off so we can be looking at the presenters. And I'm just going to start reading some questions here. And if you have questions, now is the time. Get them in there so we can get them answered. Got a couple really good ones, but if you've been thinking about something, it doesn't matter how specific it is. This is the time where you can ask these folks questions about what they were presenting, things that are specific to your business. So please get your questions in. Okay, first one is, I'm going to start with this one for you, Jamie, because it's directed towards you. Can you explain a little bit more about what Zoho is and how it can help?
So essentially what Zoho is, it is almost like its own kind of hosting platform is what I would call. So everybody's familiar with Microsoft. We're all familiar with Google. So it's a place where, just like with Google or Microsoft, you can have your email hosted there, possibly could have your website hosted there. Zoho is the same tool. It's just they've come out with a few more tools that are a little bit easier to use. I have recently tried to set up Microsoft for a client, and I need to find an expert to be able to do that because there are so many nuances to get the email running. And with mine, it literally took me a few steps with Zoho to get that up and running. So it's kind of like, you know, I compare it to Google or Microsoft. So if you're familiar with the tools that they offer, Zoho is the same kind of thing. It's just a little bit more inexpensive for businesses to use, and it offers a whole lot more tools, and they're a little bit easier to navigate.
Just a follow-up to that, Jamie. We're just getting a few messages around should you go with a boxed solution for marketing like Zoho and WordPress, or should you go custom? Do you have any perspective on that?
I think it all depends on number one, your business budget, because there's going to be a huge difference there. But it's also on functionality. So out of the box kind of templated websites are going to be easy for a business to set up they don't need a whole lot of back-end database. If you're going to need to have a whole lot of functionality, you want to, here's the example, there was a client they sell custom trucks, and they want a way for the client to literally be able to see the different options and choose those different options, put them into a little spreadsheet type of thing, and then it gets sent to them so that they could quote it appropriately. That's not something you're going to be able to do on your own with a templated website. You're going to have to pay someone to create that functionality for you.
Great, thank you. Okay, next question. I believe this one's for Warren, but please, Bill or anybody else jump in if I'm wrong about that. Can you give some examples of shifting payments to higher value activities? What does higher value activities mean, Warren?
So good question. In the current environment, higher value activities might be your new revenue generation efforts. For example, if you've been a traditional restaurant forever and you've relied on print, radio, television type advertising, and now because of our current environment, you're having to pivot to curbside delivery, to using Uber or Dash as delivery fulfillment services. Now you might want to shift money out of your traditional advertising promotion channels to social media channels to more rapidly get that message out or get that news out that, hey, yes, our dining room is closed or reduced, but we're offering curbside, we're offering Uber or Dash. And so in the current environment, you could make the case that shifting money to the social media to get that message out is a higher value channel or a higher value use for that money than continuing to just leave it in print, radio, or television.
Great, thanks, great example. So here's a very specific question. I'm just gonna read the whole thing. There's a B2B ingredient manufacturer who is preparing to launch a new product in their business revenue stream right as the COVID situation unfolded. Unfortunately, the customer prospects are on a complete hold. New innovations, product development, sales team had very little interaction with prospects because they were so early when COVID hit. The client, this business is at risk of running out of capital in the next couple of months as there is no revenue, a shrinking team, and a significant burn rate. What suggestions do you have for specific messaging or themes that are appropriate in this new normal that can, number one, re-engage existing prospects, and number two, engage new customers? So I guess that's open for Jamie or Warren or Bill, but specifically, messaging themes that can activate customers.
This is Bill. I would say because of because obviously we don't know all the details, but really key right now is to buy time. And everything that Warren covered, I think, is at play because somehow this business needs to be able to buy time. And the way you buy time is to reduce your overhead, reduce your cost so that you stretch out the time as you're trying to pivot your business. And not knowing all the details about this business, I would say everything I talked about best customer is at play. So really, who has money? Who has a need that you can meet, right? And if you met it really well, they won't just buy once, but they'll buy over and over and over again, because it'll be very expensive to go after one-time deals. So you want to have relationship that and revenues that's a stream rather than one-time buy. So really going back to if they had a customer base, going back to their customer base to really define how many of these are best customers, what are their needs, can we meet them really, really well? Can we deliver the win, and can we win with margin? And how many of them do we need to be able to sustain our business, right, as we are pivoting? So this is not, I'm probably not answering the way that they wanted, but that based on what the information we have, those would be our suggestion. Warren or Jamie, you want to jump in?
Yeah, and I'll reiterate that, Bill, just not knowing a lot of the information, I can't give specifics. But for any business out there, I think the best strategy right now is to target those best customers, because I think we've been a little spoiled. We've been able to just do some advertising and kind of splash it out there, and we're not really targeting a specific, target customer. And so I think that's what the businesses need to do, is they need to spend some time right now figuring out what those best customer segments are. And like Bill said, the ones with the most money to spend, they're going to be the customers that are going to buy. And then tailor those messages and tailor all your marketing to just target those customers. Because I think just doing the blanket approach is not going to work anymore.
Yeah, one thing I might add to that is, since they indicated this was a business-to-business channel, probably personal relationships are really important in whatever process you were undertaking before all this hit. And so efforts to reestablish those personal relationships and contacts, perhaps by online meetings like Zoom, is probably really, really critical, so you can keep a dialogue going, so you can understand what's happening with their customers. Because if they're buying something from you and incorporating that into a product, then they sell somewhere else downstream, knowing what their customers are experiencing and all that might help you to calibrate how long it's going to take for sales revenue to come to you, and help calibrate how much of this survival mode do I have to stay in, eliminating, reducing, deferring payments, that type of thing.
The other thing I'd like to add is, everything that I talked about in terms of developing a powerful action plan also applies in going after new customers. So it'll be helpful to really identify how many customers do I want, and therefore how many people do I need to actually reach out to, just like what Warren talked about. So have a daily goal of how many customers do I want to talk to so that we can win, right? And so that everything we covered would be very helpful.
So this is the last question that's up so far. So everybody, if you have more questions, now's the time. We'll do the last call before we close. What should businesses do if they want help walking through these tools? The three of you just gave a lot of information and a lot of processes. And so what would a business do who's attending this webinar, who needed some help maybe implementing some of these things? What do you suggest? And that's for anybody, Bill, Warren, Jamie.
So I'll jump in if I'm sure Bill will have something to say about this. But I think for anyone here, because I know we have people that are kind of all over the state of Idaho, I suggest getting hold of your local SBDC office and finding a coach there that can help you specifically walk through some of these things, because that's what we do in our office. That's the whole reason we do the training that we do. Questions are going to come up. People are going to need some one-on-one hand-holding possibly, and that's what we can do. And that's where the coaching, which is at no cost to the folks that want to have that, that is their best route.
Yeah, this is Bill, and there are every day, I know as business owners, you have so many things to do, and they're coming at you so fast, and you don't have enough hours, you don't have enough energy and money and employees. So one of the most important thing is, what is the one or two things you do really, really well? And that's what a coach will help you to do. Elevate the thing that's going to make the biggest difference. Even as you're thinking about implementing what we just talked about, you can't do all of it all at the same time, right? You got to separate few things, elevate few things, and that's what a good coach will help you to do. And that's everything that Jamie said.
Great. Well, thank you. Thanks for answering those questions. Thank all of you for your great questions. I want to share just a little bit of information with all of you before we end. One is I just want to draw your attention to our website, idahoSBDC.org. And if you go to training, you'll see COVID-19 trainings and webinars. So we have built out these trainings that are happening for you, and they're all directly related to how do you stay alive, how do you manage your business during COVID-19. You'll see the one we're doing today. We're doing this again next week, and that link will be live soon. So if you wanted to take this again, maybe just take another pass at this information, you can do it then. We also later today actually have information for anybody who has employees and who need to understand the federal family sick leave information and FFCRA. So what do you do with your employees if they don't want to come to work because they're scared of getting COVID or they're requesting extra time off? We're going to cover that information. We have a reopen your business, which is really going to be geared towards what kind of health regulations do you have to, should you be following to limit your liability with customers, and how can you create a communication plan around that, the actual reopen and in this new normal of social distancing and COVID-19. And then we have regional webinars as well that are happening. And this is updated almost every single day as we have new webinars coming in. So I encourage everyone who's on the webinar today to visit this page and see if there's something that is right for you. Also, if you have a quick question, you're gonna get a follow-up email. It's gonna have a survey on it so we can understand how well we did on this webinar. It's gonna have a link to the recording. So you're gonna get a recording. You can watch it as many times as you want. And if you have a quick question that just wasn't quite answered, you can just reply to the email. It comes right to my inbox. And if I don't answer it, I'll send it to either Jamie, Warren, or Bill. So quick questions, just send an email. If you need something in depth, if you want help walking through these tools, you can go to our website, anywhere on our website, and there's this request an appointment button. Press that and you register, and you can have a one-on-one confidential professional consulting session. We have consultants all over the state, and it's at no cost to you. So if this is something that you want to work a little bit deeper on with one-on-one with one of our business consultants and coaches, then go ahead and go to our website and click request an appointment. It'll send you to the region that's closest to your address and connect you with a consultant there. So with that, I just want to thank everybody for attending this webinar. Hang in there. We will all be out there visiting each other's businesses again very, very soon. As we reopen, it's great to see the community in Idaho come back together to support each other. And like Bill said, we really are the building blocks of our community in Idaho. So thank all of you for doing what you're doing to stay alive, and we'll be seeing you soon. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.